Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is the Fin Show, and I am James Finch, where we're talking cosplay, 3D printing, and all things that are nerdy and rad. On this episode of the podcast, my guest is Laney Feni, who has done such marvelous things in the industry. Everything from Lady Thor, she's especially known for Supergirl. She's done Catwoman, just a bunch of cool stuff. If you know her, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, go follow her on Instagram, Facebook. Again, Laney Feni, and all the taglines are right there. But without further ado, I'm just going to get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Laney. Okay. I am here with Laney. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast. First and foremost, where are you originally from?
Washington, D.C., Metro, VA, Maryland area. I don't really want to say like exactly where, but in that area.
Right.
Born and raised, been here pretty much my whole life.
You like it?
Yeah. So I went to work today and then I drove back home from work. And that's why I was late to this because, I probably live like 10 miles from work and it takes me an hour or so each way every day. So it's like 2 hours in traffic every day. So of course I'm like making plans and I'm like, probably not going to make it by 7 o'clock. But yeah, it's cool. It's got a lot. You can be, at the beach in 2 hours and you can be in the mountains in another 2 hours. Like it's jobs here. So yeah, I like it. I'll keep it.
It is a beautiful area. I've been through that area several times, and I think you're absolutely right. I think does like the majesty of DC pop for you since you've lived in that area your whole life, or?
So I'm not in the city. Of course, I go there often, and I've been there a million times. It's not. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, every time I go, I'm like, oh yeah, this is beautiful. I can understand why people come here and the history and everything, but I'm not like excited to go look at the monuments for the 800th time.
Yeah, after a while they're just stone.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of something you just do like whenever you have people in town. You're like, yeah, we'll go to DC.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So getting into the bigger stuff, what was it that got you into cosplay to begin with?
So, I feel like I get asked this question all the time and I never know. I always answer it differently. It's like a combination of things. I mean, when I was a kid, like I always like liked dressing up. Like never wanted to be like the pretty princess girl. Like I always wanted to be like Phantom of the Opera was like my big thing. Phantom of the Opera and Michael Jackson were like my big things that I like dressed up like. Instead of like, little girls wear like princess dresses and stuff. And I was like, no, I don't want to be Christine Daae. I want to be Phantom of the Opera. And then I went to college and like, I kind of just like had jobs here and there while I was in school. And one of my jobs I had was working at an amusement park as a vampire. So I was like a professional vampire for years, which was the coolest job I think I've ever had. And then, but of course it was only like $10 an hour. Like I don't know. You can live off of that in Richmond, but no. So eventually I was like, all right, I need a career. So I started, applying to different places after I graduated and finally got my, like what I call my big girl job. And it was just like, I mean, I love it. It's awesome, but it's just like kind of soul sucking when you're like out being a vampire, scaring the crap out of people every day. And then you have this like 9-to-5 office job where you're just like sitting in traffic. So I was like, I really need to like do something to fulfill this. Like, I don't know what you call it. I didn't really know, like, cause I've been doing this for a long time and I don't think cosplay was like as popular as it is. It wasn't as popular as it is now. So I bought a Supergirl outfit, and I found a group of people that did like children's charities at hospitals. So we went around to like Georgetown MedStar and like Children's National in DC and like some other children's hospitals, and we would just like visit the children's hospitals, and really sad. But we did that for a really long time. And then after I met all those people there, they were kind of just like, you should start going to Comic-Con. And I was like, yeah, I guess I will. We'll try. But I didn't even know that it was like really a thing until then, because it wasn't. And it was always like weird to be nerdy in high school, which I was too. So I don't know. It was like, people think this is cool. Okay, I guess I'll
Yeah, that's always the change you make. You feel like, because I was the same way. Like, high school and stuff like that, nerdy side, you kind of kept it sort of hidden. You kind of kept it kind of tucked away. And the older you get, you're like, I don't care. This is what I like doing. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, but now it's like cool to do that.
Yeah. I went to high school at the wrong time. That's the problem,
I know.
So I got to rewind it back to the professional vampire part, because that part just like, for some reason, my brain is just locked onto that. So is it just like you go into work every day, dress up like a vampire, and then work an 8-hour shift out in an amusement park scaring kids? Or how did that work?
Yeah, it's kind of like working at those like haunt, like I guess they call them haunt actors, which is a whole other like clique of people that I also never realized was a thing until I started doing it. Yeah, that you just, you go in for your makeup. You have a makeup artist. She does your makeup. You put on your costume outfit that they give you. And then you just scare the crap out of little kids. I love kids. I've been working with kids for so long.
That is cool. I like that. Like, you're a professional child scare, but probably putting it as professional vampire is even better.
Yeah.
Excuse me. What was it? I guess I would say, what do you think? Like, you said that you bought the Supergirl suit and you decided to, start doing this. What was that experience of, you touched on briefly, going to charity events, doing those kind of things, which is interesting. I've talked to several people who've done that, and prior to beginning to talk to people about cosplay, for whatever reason, it was something that hadn't occurred to me. But the more I get to know people and get to talk to people, I find that that's something that's a regular thing that people enjoy doing. I realize that can be, definitely be a sad thing, but that's got to be so uplifting for the children.
Yeah, they were always like so happy too, like the happiest. And like I would be having, like they would make me happy somehow. I know that it was supposed to be my job, like making them happy, but I'd be like, oh man, like, whatever, today sucked at work or something. I sat in traffic for hours, and then I would like go sit in traffic for another hour, and then like hang out with these kids and just be like the happiest I've ever been. And I was like, how is this even possible? Like they know what's happening to them, but they're still just like, so really it was like, them uplifting me. Like, I mean, they loved it, but really it was for me also.
Well, I think in some ways it would almost be like a perspective check.
Yeah,
because you get so caught up in your emails and, like you said, traffic and getting here in your busy schedule. And for them, that's not anything that's a concern at all.
It was, like some of them were in high school. A lot of them were really young, or they would go to school and then they'd like get their dialysis treatment or whatever in the morning, and then like go to school and then come back with their homework in their backpacks and then sit again like for another like 4 hours for their dialysis treatment. And like, I would be sitting there like in my Supergirl outfit, like doing their homework with them. And I'm just like, how are you doing this? Like, I hated doing my homework, not on dialysis. Like, how are you doing this? But,
right. Yeah. That's pretty incredible. So when you first, is there like any kind of particular experience you can draw from in your head? Like the first time that you went to a Comic-Con, was that kind of a new experience for you?
Yeah. So it's probably like 8 years ago now. I don't even know how long I've been doing this. I think like 8 years ago, I went to Baltimore Comic-Con, and my cousin was like, he makes these super suits. and he sells them for a crap ton. And I'm like, you go. Um, but he wore his Superman suit, and he was like, I was like, well, what am I gonna wear? Like, I'll just go with you. And he was like, no, just like, don't you have like fishnets or something, or like you can be Black Canary? And I was like, yeah, I mean, Black Canary's always been pretty much like I love Black Canary, so yeah, I'll do that. I have blonde hair, I guess I can rock her. And I just kind of like, threw on fishnets and a leotard, and like that was it. And it's really embarrassing looking back on it now. But I just like walked in, and everybody was just like, and like, let me take your picture. Like, and all these photographers were like coming up to me, and like everybody wanted to talk to me about Black Canary comics or DC comics. And I don't know, everyone just was like super friendly and open. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know this was a thing. Like, these are my people now. I know this is a thing. Like, I can be normal here, and people aren't going to make fun of me. So this is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% know that. For the first time I went to a con, I felt the same way. The first time, like, my friend was like, hey, and I'd always been into comics, been into nerd stuff. And my friend was like, hey, and I lived like a couple hours outside Chicago. He was like, hey, do you want to go to Chicago Comic-Con this weekend? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And maybe it was just me, but in my head, I just figured it would be like a large dank room with people just selling comics. Like, it didn't occur to me like what a festival atmosphere it was. And like, I remember the second I walked in, like my heart meter like went through the roof, and I'm like, that's the exact thing you said. Like, these are my people.
Yeah.
Like, this is my tribe. This is like where I belong. Can I rent an apartment here and just like, be here 24/7
and just stay here forever?
Right. I don't want to go back to the real world. This is so
heaven. Am I dead? Yeah.
Yeah. I hope if there is a heaven, I die. That's pretty much where like heaven is going to be. I'm just going to
Comic-Con.
Yeah. Just the Comic-Con where your feet never get tired or sore. And
well, okay, try cosplaying, and then maybe your feet will
right. Yeah, speaking of that, do you have any kind of like process you go through in terms of like deciding what characters you want to do?
Yeah, so I guess there's not really a process. It's just kind of like the characters that I feel most attached to, I guess. They're also always blonde. Because I hate wearing wigs. Like, I refuse to wear wigs. I just would be like miserable if I had to do it. So yeah, usually blonde is a big thing for me, but mostly just like if I'm reading comics and I'm like I feel really attached to like Supergirl and Black Canary and Batman, but I don't really cosplay Batman because the whole cowl thing is just not comfortable. Yeah, so it's really just who I feel connected to, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Now, how much work are you putting into your costumes? You said your brother makes them, right?
So I made this one. My cousin Jason, he kind of was like the one who showed me how to. And cosplay has gone so much further from like when I feel so old from when I started doing this. Like the detail on our super suits was all like puffy, like hand painted, puffy painted. And like this was like before screen printing existed, like screen printing the Kryptonian language on the arm, like I had to like hand puffy paint that on my old suits. But now like you just pay for someone to screen print it, and then you get it sewn by someone else, and like voila. Mm-hmm. So it's very different now. But like I still make like my armor stuff. If there's anything that has like armor, I make it out of Warbla, which is a thermoplastic, or Eva foam. So that's always fun. I made these like huge wing things out of like PVC pipe and all kinds of different materials. It just depends on what it is, really.
The wings, what was that for?
I did like a DC, like a dark DC group that was inspired by an artist. It was Justice League group, but like dark versions. for KatsuCon one year, and so I was Dark Supergirl, and she had like these massive big red wings. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. The so you said about 8 years or so been going to cons, and we already talked about how great cons are. Oh, do you feel like everyone is feels like the same feeling, or do like different ones have a different vibe to them?
Um, I kind of I feel like I've been to a lot of them, and yeah, I feel like they're kind of, it depends, like different area. I like to go to different states, different areas, because then it's always different. Every time I go to ones that are like the same cons every year here, I see the same people who I love seeing, but then it's like, especially if you're not like making a new costume, then it's not, there's nothing like, everyone's just like in the same costume, but like different year. I don't know. And it's always kind of just the same like comic stand, action figure stand, it's like kind of all the same thing, but there's always something different, especially if I'm guesting at them. It's more like I'm so busy the whole time. I don't really even like notice that I'm at a Comic-Con. It's just kind of like work at that point.
Yeah. So you do your own booth at cons?
Yeah. Yeah. So I did the first one, I think it was in Baltimore Comic Con, and that was like when I first started. And I think I only had like, I don't know, like 3,000 to 5,000 followers on Instagram or something. And I haven't really done one in this area other than like small conventions since then. But I did Awesome Con a couple weekends ago, and like going from like, I just didn't realize like the amount of people, like I don't realize the amount of people that follow me, I guess. Not that it's like a huge amount compared to other cosplayers, but it's vastly different from like 5,000 to like 100,000. And then like my Facebooks and my TikToks and stuff, like it was crazy. I was like, this is a much different experience than the last time.
So when you're having your own booth at Comic-Con, what kind of experience is that like? Is it just a lot of people coming up and talking, wanting to get pictures? How does
Yeah.
that all go?
Yeah. It's a lot of like, can I take a picture? I mean, it's a lot of people that I know too. Like, I've just seen over years after years, friends. But yeah, everyone like wants to take a picture with you. Photographers want to do shoots with you. You're judging costume contests. I sell prints and I like sign them. So people are buying those. A lot of people just want to like talk to you about your costumes and how you made it. And then you have like the random people who are like, it's so funny. They come up and they're like looking like at my sign and like my clothes or one of my costumes. And they're like, so like, you're not the actress. And I'm like, no. And then they'll be like, so like, what do you do? And I'm like, it's 2022, people. How do you not know what cosplay is? But like, I'll sit there and explain it to them. Like, it's not some weird fetish thing. Like, it's like normal. Like,
wow. Yeah, you're right. Do you get, I hate to like feel this way, but do you get any of that like creepy vibe from people every now and again?
Yeah. I don't get too much. And I don't know if it's because of like most of my costumes are more like conservative than some other people's. I don't know. Or like maybe it's the children's charity thing, but I only get like a few here and there things. But I do get a lot of people that are like I forget like how much people are paying attention to my Instagram, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would get people who come up to me, like obviously they're gonna want to talk about something. So like, oh hey, I saw you posted this or this or this. But like whenever they know like every comment that's on every photo and like everything that I've commented back, like it gets weird because I'm like, I don't even remember doing that. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah. Because it feels like for some weird reason it's the rule of the internet and social media that like a female can put on a nun outfit and post a picture, and there's going to be at least one dude who's like, "Oh my god,"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could be like, oops, drinking coffee on my balcony in my sweatpants, and people would be like, where do you live? And I'm like, no.
I'd love to be right there next to you. I like coffee too.
Like, I like coffee too.
Yeah, so do billions of other earthlings for sure.
Yeah.
That's what is the when you're going to a condo, what is like your favorite part about going?
Oh man, the kids definitely. So that's also another thing. Like, I don't know. I wonder what it is because I know I have a lot of friends who get like really creepy comments and creepy people, things, situations. I never really get that. I always get the like kids who have been kids to, teenage girls who have been following me for a while. And they're like, or like their parents will bring the kids and they're like, oh, she loves you. Like she always looks at your Instagram every day. And like, I always get those. And I'm like, this is, this is great. Like, how did I get so lucky to get this?
Uh-huh.
So I think that's like I have a couple kids that I've known from like just over the past years and they were like babies. And I have like my first picture with them as Supergirl or something. And they're like babies. And then they come back every year and then we have like take pictures every year and they just like they're getting older and I'm just like still in my Supergirl outfit. They're just like slowly getting taller than me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. The kids Sundays are always the best because it's like chill and the kids are always there.
Mm-hmm. So by and large, would you say that your experience of the cosplay community has been pretty positive?
Yeah. I mean, I think I had like one really bad experience only once. And yeah, I haven't had any. Been pretty great, actually.
That's good. Like I said, it just seems to be a rule. I had somebody who was on, I think it was like a month or so ago, and I'm not going to say who it was, but we were talking about exactly that. And she told me off the air that after a con, she had an incident that went on for months with this guy, like to the point where it was like contacting the police because it had turned like full on stalker. Yeah. And it's just like, like I realized that like people need help. But on the other side, and I think about that because I go to C2E2 in Chicago every year, and they always have this big sign up, like letting everybody know that, like, just because somebody is dressed this way is not consent for you to.
Is not consent.
Yes, which it needs to be said, but it's also like sad that it needs to be said, like that we even have to like let people know, like you're not allowed to just go like pinch somebody's rear end just because you feel like it. It's kind
of strange, like just because we're in costume, they think like that's, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, you're suddenly no longer.
Although it happens whether I'm not in costume too, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing, I guess.
Yeah, that's that's unfortunate. So is there outside of that? I mean, we talked about like feet hurting. Do you have run into any kind of like downsides or things that you don't enjoy about going to cons?
I feel like over the past, I hope I don't dig myself a hole with this one. I feel like over the past couple of years, like it's very cosplay, maybe not cons, but cosplay is like very competitive. I guess because like the followers number game and like a lot of people want that. Mm-hmm. So like there's a ton of drama and like it's just hard to keep up. Like there was a point where I was like cranking out costumes and it was like easy and I had all these ideas and I was creative and like I was the first one to do the things that I wanted to do. And now it's like there won't even like people wait until like behind the scenes random photos come. Like, they have other people that will like take pictures behind the scenes so that they can get the pictures of the costumes for new movies and then make them before like the trailers even are leaked out anywhere. And it's like, how am I supposed to compete with that? Like I can't compete with that. So yeah, it's very, because you always want to be the first one to do it. Otherwise nobody else cares, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, if you're the first one to do it, then you like, you get put in articles, and you get put in like Screen Rant and like all those other different websites, and people want you to do podcasts, and you don't get that if you're like the secondary person.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was like that super competitive. I mean, it's not like it's one of those things where, the first person to do Lady Thor gets $1 million. You know what I mean? That's wild. I didn't, I mean, I knew that there's, and it's such a community wise, I feel like it's such a broad base, because a lot of it, you have people who just like, whatever, I put together costume for this, and physiologically speaking, if I don't look exactly like the character, I don't really care. And for the most part, the community is extremely accepting of that. And I think that's really, really amazing. But yeah, I guess, I could see that becoming a very competitive thing. Is that when you say like drama around it, is that what you're like referring to as people just being that competitive?
Yeah, and I think also because people are like, this is their job too sometimes. And if that's like your sole source of income, then you're going to be like competitive about it. Right. So I get it, but like, it's not my sole source of income. So I'm like, I don't care. I'm doing this for fun. Like, I'm just going to dress up like what I want to dress up like, and I'm not going to like constantly be churning out like there are people who make costumes. I swear. I mean, it must be like on a weekly basis. And I'm just like, I don't have time to drive in traffic for 2 hours, go to my 9 to 5, and then come home and make costumes on a weekly basis. So yeah, I mean, it's just, and like there are cosplayers who dislike other cosplayers, and it's just, there's, and the normal drama that's in any kind of like clique.
Anytime there's a large group of people, there's always going to be,
just like a golf club. I don't know what people do. I don't know.
There's like gangs in the cosplay community hating each other. Like Bloods and Crips, over here it's the Kryptonians, and over here it's the Asgardians. I would pay to see that in a physical fight, though. I think I actually would. That'd be fun to see.
I might be able to get it started. We don't know.
Well, whoever films it, please hold your phone horizontal so we can actually see what's going on. And I know exactly what you mean. There are like people that I follow on Instagram. And it's like, just like you were saying, like every week they have like some new thing they've made out of foam or have 3D printed, and it looks amazing. And I'm like, how do you have time to do that?
Yeah. Like, because it's your job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that was my job, I would. Yeah. I mean, I say I would love for that to be my job, but I don't think I would. It's too much stress. It's too much. I'd rather just go sit in my office and, type some things like.
Yeah, I can understand that. A lot less pressure that way. But speaking of all that, do you have ideas in your head for future cosplay you want to do, things that you would like to do, dream cosplays, anything like that? I've
been kind of like in this rut. I don't know if it was because of the pandemic. Like there's no like need. There was no need to like make new costumes, because it's kind of like it's not a rule, but it's kind of like you don't want to wear the same costume to like the same con the next year. So like you make new costume. Like I used to just make new costumes for like the year basically, and then I would like make new ones for the next year. But now I'm just kind of like, I always said I was going to make all the Supergirls that I could ever make, and then I was going to quit cosplay. I think I have like 2 more Supergirls left to do. But I just don't know. I don't really have. So aside from that, I've been doing a lot of, during the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of like modeling for DC artists. So I'll get paid to do that. And I mean, it's pretty awesome. Like I just do my own photo shoots in my living room, and with, whatever costume they need for the time. And then they draw me, and then I'm on a comic book cover. So like I've been doing that really more than thinking about making costumes, I guess. Just kind of a creative rut.
Yeah, I understand that. Do they send you a copy of the comic book then after they do it?
Yeah. It's not a lot. Most of the time they're like the ratio variant covers. So, you know, they'll go for like $100 a piece and there's only like so many of them. So they only send me one, but I mean, it's cool.
That'd be pretty cool to have. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's me. How about I understand that, right? I've talked to people who've been there, especially, and I feel like the pandemic had a lot to do with that, because all of a sudden when you're not going to cons for a while,
Yeah.
it's sort of like especially people who I've talked to who were regularly going to multiple cons every single year, and it was kind of like just their routine. It was like the drive they were in of like costume con, costume con, and then all of a sudden it's like once like full break goes on everything for like, you know, a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of hard to turn the ignition back over and get that going again.
Yeah. I mean, I think I also realized that like how much time I was spending going to cons, making costumes, how much money I was spending on costumes. And then I took that and like bought a house. I went on vacation finally for the first time in like, you know, however many years. I got a dog. Like I've done a bunch of things since the pandemic. So I think I realized like, wow, vacation's a lot nicer than going to like 7 cons a year. I could save some of my money and just like go to the beach and chill instead of, yeah. I'm also older now. Like it's like the new wave of like hot young cosplayers are like rolling in, and I'm just like they're like, who brought your grandmother? Like,
yeah.
I'm like the old wise one.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm one of those people who like, I've been going to cons for probably 15 years now. I've never cosplayed at a con. I've seen a lot of cool cosplayers just like in person, but it's really been the last 3 months that I've really like gone down the rabbit hole into like cosplay on Instagram and getting to follow all these people and getting to meet a lot of them. And it's a wild experience, especially me. I mean, I've got the gray and the goatee here. I'm clearly not, you know, a fresh young face right out of high school or anything. But it's an interesting experience. And one of the things I've discovered is it's just all varieties, like across the board. Like it is like the UN of like people who are all cosplaying, and it's phenomenal to see. One of the things that I love to ask people, for somebody who does cosplay and has done it successfully for a number of years, is what advice do you have for people who are wanting to get into cosplay but might be trepidatious or aren't quite sure how to get into it? What advice would you give someone like that?
Just don't, I mean, it's easier said than done, but don't be afraid to like try it all. Don't be afraid to do it. First of all, don't be afraid to just experiment with different like materials. And because there are a lot of times where I'm like, you know, I don't know how to, 3D print, or I don't know how to work with this specific material. And you really just, it's like trial and error. Sometimes it costs money, but it usually works out in the end, like once you watch enough YouTube videos and figure it out. But that was a big part of my like not wanting to cosplay, because I was always like afraid to try for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, just don't be afraid to be creative. Make your own costumes, make your own original cosplays. That's something that I like to do a lot, is like not like take the characters, but like kind of try to make them my own, so it's not exactly the same as the comics. Yeah, don't be afraid. You will find someone that likes something that you like even if it's like the smallest little like niche thing, there's someone out there that will like it. Even for those weird, obscure anime people, somebody likes that out there, and that person is probably at Comic-Con.
Yeah, that is where you will find your people, you know.
Yeah.
And I say that it amazes me sometimes how I will meet people who are nerds, who are really into comics, really into anime, or any of that kind of stuff. And then you'll like bring up a con to them and they're like, you know, I've never been to a con. And you're like, what are you doing?
I know.
Like, what are you possibly doing?
There are a lot of them I've found recently. They're like, yeah, I go, you know, every Wednesday, I go to my box at the comic book store and I read my comics. And I'm like, so you've never been to a con though? And they're like, nah, like, isn't that just for like cosplay now? And I'm like, not really. Like, it's for everything. Like, literally anything you want.
Right. And it's been really cool. Like I said, somebody who's been going to cons for 15 years, the level and it, I guess where you were talking about the competitiveness definitely makes a whole ton of sense. Because the quality of the cosplay over that like decade and a half, there's been such a explosion, and a lot of it's because we have YouTube and stuff like that now. People can share like tutorials, and you can see how a lot of this stuff is done. I mean, I remember like one of the first cons I go to, and there were a couple cool cosplay, but in terms of like, a lot of it was stuff that like didn't quite fit quite right, or was a little bit off, and God love them for trying. I'm not trying. I would never bash anybody for their cosplay. But now it's like you walk around a con and you're like, are like Marvel and DC Studios in the back, like putting these people in costume and sending them out on the floor? Because oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. It's so hard. Like, I can't compete with that. It's crazy the stuff people do. I feel like I started off really strong, and I should have eased into it a little more. Like I should have done like a really bad one. And I feel like the first one I did was like pretty good.
That's what happens when you're rookie of the year. Like after that, it's just then you're just constantly trying to keep up competitively with it. So do you have cons planned here in the future that you're going to?
So of course I like guested at Awesome Con, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like do this again. I think I'm just gonna go like maybe one day to whatever ones I want to go to. Like I always try to go to New York Comic Con just like as a person, hanging out. But then I like got on this talent agency group, and I think they're like trying to push us all out to like different cons that they have to hook up with. So, and have this whole list. I don't know which ones I'm approved for yet, but there's like a whole list of them. And I'm like, but I wasn't going to do this anymore. Now I am. But at least this way, like, they'll pay for the hotel, hopefully, and like, maybe pay for the appearance fee or whatever. So I guess I can still take vacation. Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. And you have to understand that at this point in time, your soul is not yours. You belong to the community.
I know. Man.
Yeah, you have service time to do.
I know. I've done my time. First of all.
That is fair.
Yeah, I should be retired by now.
But it does make a difference when, like you said, when they're going to pay for all the travel and everything, you don't have to go through the hassle of buying flights and getting hotels and travel. If they're going to take care of the bill on it, then heck, by the way, anybody out there who wants to take care of my travel expenses for a con, I will take you up on that offer in a heartbeat. So
I think C2E2 is actually one of the ones that was on the list.
Do it.
Wait, see, that's the one in Chicago?
Chicago, August 5th through the 7th?
Yeah, but I think I said no to it because I go to Chicago for Riot Fest, which is like a music festival every year. So I think I was like, no, I don't want to go to that. I don't need to go to Chicago twice in a year.
Boo. That's good. That's my home con. That's like the one that's like just a hop and a skip down the road for me. I love to get to. You ever been to WonderCon?
No, I have not.
That's that one. I'm like, that's my own thing. I've never been to WonderCon. So many people I talk to are like, dude, that is like the con.
Yeah.
And that's in March, and I plan on going to that one. I'm like crazy excited for it. You shouldn't be like this excited for something that far out. You know what I mean? Because it's still a ways away until we get there. But so we'll start an online petition to get you to C2E2. I think we could do that. That won't be a problem.
Well, I always wanted to go to C2E2. Like even before I started guesting, I was like, I don't know why. Everyone just always said it was awesome. So yeah, I want to go there, but I never made it.
Yeah, it's been a real breath of fresh air because for a long time in Chicago, we had Wizard World.
Yeah.
And Wizard World was great. And then eventually, like, I don't know what it was. Like, it felt so over corporatized that
Yeah.
everything was just a billboard in your face. And then it felt like the space got smaller, but there were more people there. Like you felt like, am I at Comic-Con or am I at a mosh pit convention?
No.
Because,
Yeah.
that's how they feel sometimes. And then that one kind of began to fade into obscurity, and then C2E2 popped up. And ever since then, that's just been like the place to go. It's such a fun con. So easy to get to, like if you have a room, there's like a hotel right across the street with a skywalk directly into the convention center.
Okay.
And it's like, those are great, especially like anybody I've talked to or people I know who cosplay. It's like, you don't have to get in costume in a parking garage 2 blocks away and walk through Chicago in March when it might be 15 degrees out, Yeah, we did that. That was one of the cons we went to years ago, and my wife wanted to cosplay, and she cosplayed as the White Queen from the X-Men. And she had the blonde wig, had the midriff showing and everything. And we didn't have a hotel room. We had to park in the parking garage that was like across the street from the convention center. Well, it's at the McCormick Place, which is a huge building. And we didn't realize like where we parked, like C2E2 was on the completely other side of the building. And it was like 20 degrees outside. And my wife was like, I don't care, find the closest entrance to the building and we're going in. So we went in, and where we went in is where they were having the National Gynecological Conference. And my wife was just like, I don't care, we're going to C2E2. So she threw her head and shoulders back and just like marched right through the middle of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I'm tagging along with her in like a Captain America t-shirt and a backpack, like waving at everybody like, hi folks. And all the heads were like, they were like, oh yeah, those nerd people are here in the same building. That was an experience I'll never ever forget. That one.
Hilarious. Yeah, there's been a lot of those, like at Baltimore during Baltimore Comic-Con every year. I don't even really go there that much anymore because they don't like cosplayers there. But when I did go, it was always like in whenever football season is fall time. So and they have like the Ravens there. I don't like football. They have the Ravens there. You couldn't tell. And it would be like, we would be either entering the building, and the stadium's like right next to the convention center. So like it would all be leaving at like the same time. And it was just like this mass of like nerds in costumes, and then like nerds wearing their like, all purpled out, like face paint, like, and they were like looking at us like, what's wrong with these nerds? Like, why are they in costume? And we're looking at them like, okay, but like you just sat outside watching people throw balls around, like you're weird.
Yeah. You nailed it on the head. Like, D&D is stupid. I play fantasy football.
Yeah, like it's the same thing, buddy.
What the hell? Right? Yeah, I'm gonna put on orange face paint and go scream for a bunch of men who aren't even from this city. But you're a nerd for dressing up like Wolverine. Okay, yeah, totally.
They know like everything about the guys. Like they know their stats. They know like how many games they've played. Like, okay, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, believe me, if I ever know another man's exact height and weight, slap me, because like and I know, like, because I am a sports fan, but not like a crazy one. And when people say to me like, "Oh, have you seen so and so? He's coming in. They just drafted him from Oregon, and he's 6'3", 258 pounds," and I'm like, "Whoa!" Like, that's not information I need. Okay, like, is he good or not? Okay, he's good. Great, cool, awesome.
I just. And they're like, I just don't understand why, like in face paint, I just don't understand why you're wearing a cape. Why are you wearing a red cape? And I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing either. So
right. Yeah. Our building has air conditioning.
Yeah.
That's why. And heat, if it's winter. Well, cool. We're getting up against the clock here. Lady, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time out to talk to me. Anything you want to say on the way out?
Thanks so much for having me. Don't be afraid to cosplay. Don't be afraid to Comic-Con. That's it.
All right. All right, Lane. Well, you have a good one, and we'll talk to you again in the future.
All right. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, folks. So that was the podcast with Laney Feni. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun talking. I want to thank everyone out there for supporting this podcast, liking, subscribing, all those things that make the world turn nowadays. I'm going to get out of here. Before I go, I just want to say I love all you. Hope you take care of each other, and we'll talk to you next time.